I'd like to welcome everybody to the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe Council meeting. It's Monday, January the 15th at 7 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Could I have a motion to open the meeting? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, the minutes of the previous meeting. Everyone's had the minutes from the December 4th, 2023 special meeting of council in reference to the 2024 draft budget presentation. Are there any questions, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the minutes of the Adelaide Metcalfe Council held on December 8th, 2023 be adopted as printed. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. You've also had a chance to read the December 18th, 2023 meeting of council minutes. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, we have a recommendation that the minutes of the Adelaide Metcalfe Council held on December 18th, 2023 be adopted as printed. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we are going to move into the quarter revision in reference to the BD drain. The purpose of the quarter revision is to hear appeals regarding the schedule of assessment only. The schedule of assessment may be altered, but the total assessment must remain the same. If one assessment is reduced, then another must be increased to balance. Regarding the BD Drain 2023, this quarter of revision is pursuant to the report prepared by Spreed Associates dated October 16th, 2023, which was considered and adopted at the consideration meeting held on December 18th, 2023, and pursuant to bylaw 69 of 2023, which received 2 readings by council at its regular meeting on December the 18th, 2023. Section 54(1) of the Drainage Act provides that the decision of the Court of Revision can be appealed to the Drainage Tribunal within 21 days from the date of the Court of Revision. The final day of appeal is Monday, February the 5th, 2024. I'm now going to call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. We have a recommendation that council sit as the Court of Revision under Section 97 of the Drainage Act as amended to consider the BD Drain 2023. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. I maybe neglected to mention our clerk is sick tonight, so our CAO is being CAO and clerk tonight. So. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask the clerk if the township has received any appeals to the schedule of assessment.
There have been no appeals as of 4 p.m. today.
Okay. And to the gallery or anyone online, is there anyone who wishes to appeal the schedule of assessment? Okay, are there any questions from members of the Court of Revision? Okay. If there are no issues, then if council does accept an appeal to the schedule of assessment, it is recommended that a motion is made to accept the written verbal appeal and refer back to the appointed engineer. 2, a motion that the Court of Revision for the drain be rescheduled, or 3, that the meeting be adjourned. So we have no appeals, no nothing. So we are going to, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. Hang on. Oh, okay. I had a misstep there. Sorry, folks. We're going to rescind that closing of the meeting. And we need a decision that the assessment contained in the report for the BD Drain 2023 be prepared by Spreed Associates dated October 16th, 2023, be confirmed as presented. Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. So now we will adjourn. Moved by Brody, seconded by Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, item 6 on the agenda is in reference to the Committee of Adjustment. The purpose of the following public meeting and Committee of Adjustment are to give council, the Committee of Adjustment, and the general public an opportunity to hear all interested parties with respect to the applications being heard this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and the written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. In respect to the Committee of Adjustment applications, only the applicant or a public body can appeal a Committee of Adjustment decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. This must be filed within 20 days from the date of decision. In respect to the public meeting applications, if a person or public body does not speak to the application at the public meeting or make written submissions to the township, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal or be added as a party to an appeal of the decision to the tribunal. If you wish to be notified of the decision in writing, please submit a written request to the clerk. So we have a recommendation that council convene as the Committee of Adjustment at 7:06 p.m. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll turn the floor over to our planner, Erin Besh.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just going to share my screen. Okay, so the first application before committee this evening is minor variance A09-2023. And the purpose of this variance is to seek relief from section 6.2 of the zoning bylaw, which would permit a lot area of 37.6 hectares, whereas a minimum lot area of 40 hectares is required in the general agricultural zone. This application will satisfy a condition of consent B10 2023, which was approved by the Committee of Adjustment in November of this previous year. The subject lands were granted the provisional consent, so it was a approval in principle with a list of conditions that must be satisfied. A portion of the driveway for 9529 Townsend Line extends onto the subject lands, and which was the purpose of this consent. The landowner wishes to ensure that the existing driveway is wholly contained on the residential lot and does not impede onto the farm parcel. The lands that were conveyed are currently vacant aside from the driveway, and the remainder of the conveyed lands is within the significant woodlands. So although the property was undersized to begin with, it was deemed to be legal non-complying because the deficient lot size was in existence prior to the establishment of our current zoning bylaw. However, once we are moving to convey any land and make that lot even smaller, it does require a minor variance because we are deviating away from the minimum lot area of the 40 hectares. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. I did not receive any comments or concerns from either our agencies, departments, or the public. My analysis of the 4 tests of minor variance, I have no concerns. I do find that the application meets the 4 tests. Specifically, the land that is being conveyed is not currently in agricultural production. It is designated as significant woodland, so it is somewhat protected. And the ultimate removal of that piece of land from the farm parcel would in no way impact its ability to operate as an individual farm piece and would not have any impact on the surrounding agricultural operations as well. So my recommendation for this minor variance this evening is approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Does council have anything they wish to ask Erin? Okay. Anyone in the gallery wants to speak against the application? Anyone in the gallery that wants to speak for the application? Okay. Seeing no one does, we have a recommendation that the application for minor variance A09-2023 that requests relief from section 6.2 of the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw to permit a lot area of 37.6 hectares, 92.9 acres be granted. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item up is application for minor variance A10-2023, Tony Van Arts, I'm sorry, and Tracy Van Art, 1521 Cuddy Drive, and I'll turn that over to you, Erin.
Thank you again, Chair. I'm just bringing up the location map here. So this next application before committee this evening, the purpose of which is a request to permit the construction of a 1,762 square meter layer barn on an agricultural parcel of land. More specifically, the applicant is seeking relief from sections 5.17 of the zoning bylaw, which states that new or expanding livestock facilities in the general agricultural zone shall comply with the minimum distance separation 2 formula. So the property itself is approximately 81.57 hectares. It's located on the south side of Cuddy Drive between Wilson Road and Kerwood Road. The lands currently contain a single detached dwelling, a barn, and a wind turbine. So the applicant is looking to construct the livestock facility, which would house approximately 55,000 layer hens, which is equivalent to 366.7 nutrient units. This information is based on the applicant's MDS report that they provided. In addition to the layer barn, there would be an egg packing and storage area, as well as a covered solid manure storage area. The structure is proposed to be located in proximity to the existing dwelling and barn with a front yard setback of approximately 150 meters. So the province provides our municipalities with the minimum distance separation guidelines, which comes directly from AMAFRA. This guideline requires setbacks to be calculated between new or expanding livestock facilities and single detached residential dwellings or other sensitive receptors such as institutional uses, churches, daycares, schools, that sort of thing. And this is done in order to minimize the impact of the new or increased number of nutrient units from the livestock on the surrounding lands. So this application seeks relief from 4 setback requirements. The MDS2 document that was provided to me required a setback of 398 meters or 1,306 feet. This buffer area does, like I said, capture 4 addresses. 1548 Cuddy, 1500 Cuddy, 1472 Cuddy, and 1602 Cuddy Drive. The smallest distance required would be to 1548 Cuddy Drive, which is 209.7 meters. Setback to 1500 Cuddy would be 225.9 meters. Setback to 1472 is 307.8 meters. And finally, 1602 Cuddy Drive, which would be 392 meters. So that one is just shy of the 398. The majority of the lands on the property are in agricultural production. There is a woodlot on the southern end of the property that's been identified as significant woodlands. The lands also contain a segment of the Lenting Drain, which runs, you should be able to see it at the top west corner of the property. It's regulated by the Ausable Bayfield Conservation Authority, which is the red hatching on the land, sorry, the location map. The wind turbine is actually accessed via this secondary driveway that is located just east of the driveway to the house, and continues kind of in a zigzaggy pattern down to the wind turbine, which is in the southern portion of the property. So I won't go through all of my policy and regulatory information in my report, but I will specifically identify through AMAFRA in the minimum distance separation guidelines. Section number 43 states that MDS2 setbacks should not be reduced except in limited site-specific circumstances that meet the intent of the MDS document. Examples would include circumstances that mitigate environmental or health public health and safety impacts or avoid natural or man-made hazards. The intent of the MDS document is to reduce odor conflicts by separating incompatible uses. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. The township drainage superintendent advised that it appears that the structure meets the setbacks from the Lenting drain. The Asable Bayfield Conservation Authority advised that it appears the proposed barn will be located outside of the regulated area, so they do not have a concern with the application. I also received an email from a adjacent landowner who is one of the landowners impacted by the variance request. So their concerns were that this does not appear to be a minor variance, it appears to be a major variance. The setbacks should be upheld. As a farmer themselves, it seems that only fair to the neighboring people that farmers follow these guidelines and respect each other's properties. So I did analyze the application based on the 4 tests of minor variance. I am of the opinion that the variance cannot be considered minor in nature. There appears to be alternative locations on the property that this structure could be located that would meet the MDS setbacks. I'm not aware of any limiting factors such as natural hazards or natural heritage features that would completely negate any other area on this property. You know, for residential units being impacted by this type of variance it's a difficult thing to address as a minor change. So it's not always, you know, what is the numbers? What is the impact? We're looking at a 50% or almost 50% reduction for one of the dwellings. What we look at really for minor variance is not only what the numbers, but what is the impact? And it appears that the location of this livestock addressing or impacting potentially 4 residential units in the vicinity, I do have a difficult time supporting that. So I do not believe that it is a desirable or appropriate use for this parcel of land. It does not maintain the intent of the official plan or the zoning bylaw, which both require livestock operations to meet the MDS 2 setback requirements. So my recommendation this evening is denial of the application. And the reasons are that the intent of the township's official plan are not maintained. The intent of the township's zoning bylaw is not maintained. The variances are not considered minor in nature, and the variants are not desirable or appropriate use and development of the lands. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Does council have any questions for Erin? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone in the audience or the gallery that would like to speak against the application? Is there anyone that would like to speak for the application? I'm sorry, we've not met. I'm assuming you're the Van Arts. Yeah. So if you'd like to come up to the microphone here, Dan might be able to push the button for you and get you going so everybody can hear. And just tell us who you are, and there we go.
I'm Tony Van Hart, and that's Dr. Tracy. I've talked it over with my children about this variance. I thought we were going to get another picture on.
Yeah, I'm just working on that.
Okay. My reasoning for putting the barn there is because it was an old building site. So as you can see, the windmill laneway goes around it, leaving just a small area there that's unworkable. It's like it's small enough that you can't get equipment in there, and it's a good building site because there's never going to be a decent crop going on there anymore, because when they get that other picture on, you can see how the old dairy barn was in there and everything like that.
Is that like where the netted area, this crisscross, the black, where
Yes.
the proposed location? So is that cement I'm looking at all behind there? Or it's just gravel or something right now?
Right now it's clay. It's
clay. Okay.
Yeah. So
And then
those
what?
green things are the old buildings. That's the old building site.
and they're not there anymore.
No,
Okay.
they've cleaned them up before we bought the residence.
Okay, and when I was looking at that first map, the shaded area to the south of there, is that a woodlot or it's just grass or
Oh, no,
scrub or what is
that's-
that?
The laneway from the windmill comes up and around and it's just, I guess it's where the old buildings are. As you can see, there's cement and stuff there. It's all cleaned up, but it's still not a decent,
But when you go to the
So-
back, I guess my question is to the east of the laneway, it looked like a green patch there. So is that like this here? I'm wondering what is this exactly?
that's,
Woodlot or?
oh no, it's a pasture.
Oh, pasture. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I just wanted clarification.
So the way it is there, it would, I guess, use up no good agricultural land. In my eyes, I don't know. Like, there's just no way we could get in there with cultivators and work that land. It's just not a good parcel of land. It's a good place, what I feel is a good place to build a barn because it's so solid. If we had to stay farther away, we'd have to make a whole new area, bring in more laneways and whatnot, and work with, the, the windmill company because they have a laneway going up and around it. So it's a lot of extra planning to do that, and we'd have to build on land that is usable for agriculture. Land that, like, there's just one laneway going back, so we have two big parcels of land that we can work now. If we do have to move that barn back farther, we're gonna be cutting up more agricultural land.
So when did those buildings come down, the original
I
ones?
think it was this year. We took those silos down this year. But yeah, the barns, they were there in 2014, and you can see there's a cement pad here. I think a year before they had a couple of lagoons as well, so those have all been, whatever, the subsoil and whatnot has all been worked up. So it's not a very good agriculture piece of property anymore, and there's no way we're gonna get the machinery we want in that little section. And we realize that the MDS is not what it should be. But my daughter Tracy is gonna be living in a house that's on it, so you know, if I thought it was gonna be a big problem with smell or with anything, I would not tell her that she should be living there. Like, I realize it's gonna affect the neighbors a bit, but if it was gonna affect them a lot, I would not want my daughter living there.
Does anybody have any questions for Tony? No? Okay, thank you, Tony. Any further discussion from the committee? Mike, go ahead, Counselor Brody.
Through you, Sue, to Tony, I guess. I think the biggest issue here is it's just 4 houses, and I don't even know if the true rules, if we pass a minor variance, if it would even get past us. I think it would get turned down at a higher level, so maybe Aaron can attest to that, but I don't think we can even vote that we would be able to break that many rules, basically.
I don't think we call them breaking the rules, being showing flexibility. I think it's a better. Anyway, Counselor McKinnon.
Yeah, I agree with Counselor Brody. I cannot support this application for a minor variance because I don't consider it minor. That the 4 units being outside of the MDS, I just can't support it.
Any other questions, comments? Counselor Kingma?
Yeah, through the mayor to the committee. I would say we should probably deny this application. I think something better needs to be produced before we can be content that there won't be any offsite impacts. I do regret that there's potentially a significant added cost to make that setback workable. And I'm very sympathetic to that. I've heard of cases where it's $100,000 more in the price, just to have a barn respecting MDS. But I think we have to keep the peace in that neighborhood. And one way to do that is to deny the application.
Thank you. Any further comments or any questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that application for minor variance A10-2023 for relief from section 5.17 of the zoning bylaw to permit requested setbacks from the proposed chicken barn and the single detached residential dwellings identified in the chart below be denied. Is there a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor McKinnon, seconded by Counselor Kingma. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, the next application up is number 3, application for consent B12-2023, owners James and Susan Lumen regarding 25493 Wood Road. And I'll turn it over to you again, Erin. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. You're so fast. I'm never quite ready when you're throw it over to me. Okay, there we go. So the next application before committee this evening is for 2 applications. It's for consent for severance, as well as a zoning bylaw amendment. Of course, the Committee of Adjustment deals with severance applications and the council proper deals with zoning amendments. But I think typically what I usually do is give my whole spiel together, and then you can make a separate decision on the rezoning. Hopefully that's okay with everyone. So this first application, like I said, we're dealing with a surplus farm dwelling severance. So I've shared the larger location map that shows the property as a whole. So the yellow part being the retained parcel and the red part being the severed residential lot. I just want to point out, as you can see on the location map, there's 2 different zonings on this property currently. There is the general agricultural zone, as well as an environmental protection zone, which covers the drain that runs north-south across the property. And I will then share my smaller map. So there's some funky yellow lines here, but I think this gives a better, some better context for the residential piece. So the applicant is proposing a lot width of 73 meters and a depth of 49 meters for a lot area total of 0.24 hectares in size. The proposed lands to be severed contain an existing single detached dwelling, which was constructed around 1867. It is privately serviced with an individual septic system and well. The lands also contain a small garden shed. The property also has an access onto Wood Road. The lands proposed to be retained, being the remnant farm parcel, are primarily in agricultural production and contain a portion of the wood drain. Like I mentioned previously, the drain is regulated by the Asable Bayfield Conservation Authority. Application for zoning amendment Z11, which was submitted concurrently with the subject severance, seeks to rezone the proposed severed lands from general agricultural zone to the surplus dwelling zone, as well the remnant farm parcel to the agricultural only zone. This is a requirement under our official plan, as well as under the county and the provincial policy statement. So there's no changes to the portion of the retained lands, which is zoned environmental protection. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. The chief building official advised that the septic system must be confirmed to be located wholly on the severed portion so that it remains with the dwelling. He also requires that the hydro service for the dwelling be confirmed to be wholly located wholly on the parcel being severed so that it does not cross the new property lines. The drainage superintendent advised that the property is in the watershed of the wood drain, and if the severance goes through, the applicants will need to apply for a drainage reapportionment at the full cost of the applicant. I have included that as a recommended condition this evening. The Middlesex County Safety and Standards Officer advised that the retained farm parcel will require a 911 address, and that be approved by the township as well as the county emergency services department. And Asable Bayfield advised of no concerns, as all of the hazard land will remain with the lands to be retained. Enbridge also has pipelines or gas lines in this area. If they're impacted by the severance, it will be at the cost of the landowner to relocate those pipelines, gas lines. And I did receive one comment from a member of the public. They sort of requested some additional clarification on the size of the property. Their primary concern being if they do build a new larger house on the lot, can 0.6 acres support a larger home and an appropriate size septic system? So my evaluation of the proposed severance is that the surplus dwelling zone requires a minimum lot area of 2,000 square meters, which is half an acre. This property is in excess of that size. If there is an additional septic system that is required in the future, I believe that there is contingency area for that. And, you know, if, like we've seen in the past, if they absolutely cannot accommodate it on the lot, there is an opportunity for perhaps a minor lot boundary adjustment in the future. So I evaluated the application against the criteria for surplus farm dwelling severances, and I'm satisfied that it meets those criteria. The lot is small enough to accommodate the dwelling, accessory building, and private services without the removal of land and agricultural production. The rezoning application, the surplus dwelling zone is appropriate, and I do support that change, as well as the agricultural only zone, which will prohibit new residential dwellings on the lands. Again, the environmental protection zone will not be altered through this rezoning. So my recommendation this evening is approval subject to the 12 conditions that I have listed in my report. All standard surplus farm dwelling consent application conditions, except it does include the condition from the chief building official that the hydro service is to be confirmed, a drainage reapportionment be allocated, independent access to the severed and retained, as well as a new 911 address. Further, that my recommendation is that the rezoning application also be approved and given 3 readings this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. We're just at this time going to deal with the surplus farm dwelling. We'll pick up the zoning when we come out of this portion. Are there any questions for Erin from council? Councillor Brody?
Through Sue, I guess maybe to the landowner. Just if the septic system gets inspected and it fails, are you willing to maybe give up a little more land if needed for that?
Yeah, that's not a problem. We just wanted to kind of like square the farm off of it. That's why we took that last little triangle in.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think James.
Okay, that's just one question.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I'm not going to read through the 11 or 12 conditions. We have a recommendation that the application for consent B12-2023 submitted under Section 53 of the Planning Act be granted, subject to the conditions that Erin has laid out. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, you're still up, Erin. Number 4, application for consent B13-2023, owners James and Susan Lumen, and this one's regarding 3859 Wardell Drive. I'll give you a minute to get there.
Thank you, Chair.
I have to get there too, so that's okay.
I'm almost there. Okay. I shouldn't make notes in between. It just gets me every time. Okay.
Not a hurry here. Okay.
All right. So the next application, again, it's a combo surplus farm dwelling severance as well as a rezoning application. As the chair mentioned, it's 3859 Wardell Drive. The applicant is proposing a severance of a frontage of 89 meters along Wardell Drive, lot depth of approximately 132 meters, and a lot area of 1 hectare in size. The lands proposed to be severed contain an existing single detached dwelling constructed around 1940, which is privately serviced with an individual septic system and well. There is an access onto Wardell Drive as well. The applicant has advised that the treed area or the sort of vegetated area just west of the dwelling, that was actually planted by the landowner. And that was in order to provide privacy to the neighboring residential property and assist with erosion control on the agricultural field. So they are proposing to include a portion of this area with the lands to be severed, and the remainder of the vegetated area would stay with the retained lands. And I believe that the intent of requesting this area is for the enjoyment of the residential lot. The lands proposed to be retained, being the remnant farm parcel, contain primarily agricultural land and crop production. Like I said, there's a vegetated area along Wardell Drive. As the applicant is requesting a portion of this with the residential lot, you can also see on my location map here that there's quite a bit of green area outside of the proposed lot, which the applicant is requesting to retain in order to bring back into production. So the rezoning application, similar to the previous one, we are requesting to rezone to the residential lot to the surplus dwelling zone, which would recognize the residential use and limit the uses on the property. So no more agricultural uses, no more livestock, that sort of thing. The application is also seeking to amend the zoning of the larger farm parcel to the agricultural only zone, and this would prohibit new residential dwellings on the land. The application was circulated per the requirements of the Planning Act. Chief Building Official advised that the septic system is to be confirmed to be wholly located on the severed portion so that it remains with the dwelling. The drainage superintendent advised that the property appears to be within the watershed of the McCallum or drain. So if the severance is approved, drain apportionment would be required. The Middlesex County Safety and Standards Officer advised that the remnant farm parcel would require a municipal 911 address to be issued and for that signage to be posted for emergency responders. I did not receive any comments from the public. My analysis of the application, I am satisfied that the application meets the criteria for surplus farm dwelling severance. And I do want to note that while the applicant is requesting an additional area of naturalized land with the residential lot, I'm of the opinion that this proposal is supportable as the land is not within a significant woodland, so there is no separation of the natural heritage system. It will not remove any land from agricultural production, and in fact, they are proposing to bring back approximately 1 hectare of land into crop production. So an overall increase of agricultural lands on the property. The proposed rezoning is appropriate for the surplus dwelling in the agricultural only zone. I have prepared a bylaw to be reviewed by the council at the time of listening to the rezoning. And my recommendation this evening is approval subject to 11 conditions, which are all our standard conditions, including the drainage reapportionment, 911 address, and independent accesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Council have any questions for Erin? Sue, do you have any comments? You're good? Okay. All right, seeing none, then the application for consent B 13-2023 submitted under section 53 of the Planning Act be granted subject to the 11 conditions Erin laid out. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And once again, we'll deal with the zoning in the next section. Okay, the next one is the application for consent B 14-2023, owners James and Susan Lumen. And the address is 2921 Cuddy Drive, and I'll turn it over to Erin again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to confirm, I shared another map. Can everyone see the new location map? All right. So this is a picture of the entire property. So 2921 Cuddy Drive. There's also a 911 address assigned to the livestock or the previously used livestock buildings. There are 2 wind turbines on the property, and it does have some environmental protection area as well to the south. So the application itself, it's another combination consent and rezoning application. This proposal is a lot width of 47 meters along Cuddy Drive, a depth of 107 meters, and a lot area of 0.48 hectares. I'll zoom into the residential lot, may not be good enough quality. So share this one. Hopefully that's a little better for council here. So the lands proposed to be severed contain an existing single detached dwelling, which was constructed around 1960. It's privately serviced. There's also a garden shed and a drive shed on the property. The lands proposed to be severed include an existing access onto Cuddy Drive. The lands proposed to be retained, the remnant farm parcel, are primarily in crop production. There is a unused or silo and barn just south of the dwelling, which the applicant has requested to maintain on the lands to be retained. The lands also contain 6 vacant turkey barns and 2 wind turbines, as I pointed out previously. In support of the application, the applicant has submitted a MDS2 report regarding the vacant turkey barns on the lands to be retained. The report identifies the setback of 319 meters to the nearest sensitive receptor. And just using my measurement tool, I do see that the dwelling or the proposed lot is in excess of that requirement. So they have met the MDS2 requirement in this case. The application for rezoning, we are looking to rezone the residential lot to surplus dwelling zone and the remnant farm parcel to the the agricultural only zone, which would prohibit any new residential uses, and no change to the portion of the land zoned environmental protection is proposed. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. The chief building official advised that the septic system is to be confirmed to be wholly located on the residential lot. That an MDS calculation be provided to confirm that the severed parcel complies with MDS from the larger poultry barns. If the dwelling does not comply, then a minor variance to MDS also be approved. I did include this as a condition. However, it can be satisfied once the building department has a chance to review the MDS document that was circulated as per the application. So this will not hinder the application at all. The farm buildings located on the site of the dwelling be removed, and that the remaining lands be cleared of outside storage and debris to ensure compliance with the township's property standards bylaw. Township drainage superintendent advised the property appears to be within the watershed of the Bucart drain, and that a drainage reapportionment will be required if approved. Middlesex County Safety and Standards Officer advised of no comments on the application, seeing as both parcels of land have issued 911 addresses. And the Sauble Bayfield Conservation Authority does not have a concern with the application either. I did not receive any comments or concerns from the public. I'm generally satisfied that this application meets the requirements for a surplus farm dwelling zone. I have evaluated the accessory building on the proposed severed lot and determined that the drive shed maintains the requirements of the surplus dwelling zone as it pertains to size and other zone requirements. So in no site-specific SD zone will be required as far as the drive shed is concerned. In regard to the silo and barn to be located on the lands to be retained, the chief building official recommends they be demolished and the debris removed from the site, as they are in close proximity to the residential lot and would not meet the MDS2 requirements. And I have included this as a recommended condition of severance. The rezoning application seems appropriate. However, I am suggesting this evening that the rezoning application be given 2 readings instead of 3, because I do want a confirmation of setbacks between the existing single detached dwelling, septic system, and accessory building for the proposed new lot lines. It does appear to be fairly close to the southernmost boundary. So if the accessory structure does not meet the required setbacks, a site-specific SD zone will be required. And that would be prior to the 3rd reading of the bylaw. The agricultural only zone for the larger remnant farm parcel seems appropriate, and there, of course, is no change to the environmental protection zone. So my recommendation this evening for the consent application is approval, subject to the 12 conditions, which are our standard conditions, save and except for number 6, which is a requirement that the building department review the MDS calculation. Number 7, that the silo and barn be removed and the lands be cleared of outside storage and in compliance with the township's property standards bylaw. Drainage assessment and independent accesses. And that, again, application for zoning bylaw amendment Z13 be approved and given 1st and 2nd reading, with the 3rd reading to be given once a reference plan has been received. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Erin. Are there any questions from the committee? No? Sue, you're good? Good, thank you. We're always happy to hear that. All right, we have a recommendation that the application for consent B142023 submitted under Section 53 of the Planning Act be granted to the conditions that were outlined by Erin, the 12 conditions. Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we now, the Committee of Adjustment, we're going to adjourn, so I have a recommendation that council adjourn the Committee of Adjustment at 7:46 PM. Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we're now going to move back into public meeting. We have a recommendation that council convene into public meeting at 7:47 PM. Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, you're on deck again, Aaron here. The first one up is the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z11-2023, owner James and Susan Lumen, 25493 Wood Road. Aaron's already presented to us, so we have a recommendation that the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z11-2023 be approved and given 3 readings. The reasons: consistency with the provincial policy statement would be maintained, conformity with the County of Middlesex official plan would be maintained, and conformity with the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe official plan would be maintained. Moved by Councillor Kingma, second by Councillor McKinnon. Any discussion, or we're good? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next one up is the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z12-2023, owner James and Susan Lumen, and it's regarding 3859 Wardale Drive. We have a recommendation that application for zoning bylaw amendment Z12-2023 be approved and given 3 readings. The reasons: consistency with the provincial policy statement would be maintained, conformity with the County of Middlesex official plan would be maintained, and conformity with the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe official plan would be maintained. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, and the last one is an application for zoning bylaw amendment Z13-2023, owners James and Susan Lumen, and this one is in reference to 2921 Cuddy Drive. We have a recommendation that application for zoning bylaw amendment Z13-2023 be approved and given 1st and 2nd reading, with the 3rd reading to be given once a reference plan has been received. The reasons: consistency with the provincial policy statement, conformity with the Middlesex County official plan, and conformity with Adelaide Metcalfe's official plan. All would be maintained. Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we have a recommendation that council adjourn the public meeting at 7:49 PM and reconvene in regular session of council. Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we're going to do correspondence next, 7A, upcoming conferences, seminars, meetings. The next meeting of Adelaide Metcalfe Township is on Monday, February the 5th at 7 PM. And after that, it's February the 20th, also at 7 PM, and that will focus on planning matters. There were recommended readings. CC number 1, the County of Middlesex County Highlights from December 12th. CC number 2, Rural Ontario Municipal Affairs, Roma, Trains and Drains Update from December 18th. CC number 3, the Middlesex London Health Unit, the Board of Health Meeting Summary from November 16th, 2023. St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, the December 2023 meeting highlights. Humane Society London and Middlesex Animal Care and Control Report from Q4 2023. Middlesex London Health Unit, the Board of Health Meeting Summary from December 14th, 2023. CC number 7, there's a resolution from the City of Sudbury, the amendment to the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Is there any appetite to support that? Do you want to speak to it, or you're making a motion?
I would just like to move to support.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to support CC number 7. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And CC number 8, a resolution from the Township of Kami, the prohibition of criminals from municipal council.
Just move to 5.
Okay. Are you suggesting we wouldn't have anyone run for office? I don't know. Okay, so could I have a motion to receive and file CC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so next up are staff reports, and the first one up is the Fuller Harris Drain reconstruction to discuss the tender results, and I'll turn this part of the meeting over to Andrew Neely, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Fuller Harris Drain reconstruction tender results, background, report, excuse me. The report went to council for consideration October 2nd of this past year with no appeals. Court of revision was held in November 6th of this past year with the same no appeals for the schedule of assessment. Tenders and quotes were issued in compliance with the township procurement policy. Notice of tender for the reconstruction for the drain was issued on December 4th of this past year and closed on December 19th. And was opened by Coulter Cahill and Nicole Lewis of the township. The following results: the lowest bidder, Van Bree Drainage, $74,011.20. The start and finish dates, September to December of this year. The next is Robert Robinson Construction. Or farm drainage, I should say, $75,696. The start and finish June to August of this year. And Hayter Contracting, $80,215. Robinson Farm Drainage, $80,464. And McNally Excavating, $85,700. And it is my, I should mention that the township did receive concerns from a couple of the people on the watershed that their recommendation is that Robert Robinson get the contract solely because of the date range that has been proposed, June to August of this year. It was felt it would fit better with crop rotation. However, that is for informational purposes only, and it is for discussion if that is what council sees fit. The recommendation is based on Spreet's office confirmation that the council approved the tender received from Ranbury Drainage in the amount of $74,011.20 plus HST for the reconstruction of the Fuller Harris. I am open for questions if there are.
Okay, before I ask council if they have any questions, is there anyone in the gallery that wants to speak to this? Okay, are there any questions from council? So it sounds like we've got the tenders before us, but there's been a ratepayers expressed an interest to possibly go with a different tender strictly from a timing perspective of when the work can be completed. Is that my understanding? Okay.
That
can I
is,
get- Okay. So council discussion, Councillor Brody?
Through you, Sue, probably Morgan, how many ratepayers have voiced their concern on the drain time?
And how many properties would be
how many
impacted? I guess that would,
properties?
our property ratepayers would be impacted.
Well, it's a good question. Through the chair to Councillor Brody. We received one email correspondence on behalf of a couple of people. So probably 2 or 3 properties were included in that email.
So that's the same one, just the one we seen earlier today then.
So how many properties are affected by this drain, Andrew?
pardon me, that was kind of garbled. I didn't catch.
Sorry, how many properties are impacted with this
Uh,
assessment? Or it's a whole bunch, we expect.
There's 2 properties and 2 property owners that are impacted on the actual placement of the drain.
Okay, and I'm assuming those are the ones we've heard from that have the biggest impact?
Yeah,
Would that
Coulter's
be
the-
accurate?
the-
Yeah, okay, thank you, Coulter. Okay, well, with that information, what's the appetite of council? Councilor McKinnon?
Through you, Mayor, to Andrew. Andrew, because of the start and finish dates, June to September, and the landowner requesting a consideration not to go with the lowest bidder, we're able to take the second bidder, are we not?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it is possible. It is somewhat unconventional. Typically, municipalities will take the lowest. I will mention that the contract does state that no tender has to be accepted, doesn't have to be the lowest, doesn't have to be any of them. However, if there's if council just decides to stray from the lowest, then it had better be for a very good reason, a very justifiable reason. Something that could be explained in court, basically what it boils down to, if it comes to that.
Thank you, Andrew. Councilor Brody?
I guess through you, Sue, that's to Morgan, that's probably my next concern, yeah. If there's gonna be any trouble here trying to just worry about cropping dates, or one other thing I do not want to see is any cost going to the taxpayer or back to council. It'd have to be eaten by the ratepayers that are basically requesting the drain.
So through the chair to Councillor Brody and council as a whole, I took the opportunity after we received information from some ratepayers this morning to meet with Spreed Associates and Coulter as well to review the tendering process. Within the tendering process, yes, normally it's a tender, it's a public document. There's not much opportunity for negotiation or change because it's a tender, it's not an RFP. In that tendering document, it does provide council the ability to give special consideration to timing, for example. So if we're hearing from a ratepayer that the timing of the lowest bidder doesn't necessarily work for their farming operations, then council may make a decision to take the next lowest bidder, given the timing better represents the operations or farming conditions. There's a couple of risks in doing that. One is with OMAFRA. So there's a grant. I think this project's eligible for a grant. It's for 1/3 of the difference, $1,500. So maybe $600 is what we're worried about here. That OMAFRA may not pay out that grant. If OMAFRA doesn't pay out that grant, the funds that are remaining will get billed back to the drain. So no cost on the tax base. Where there could be a potential cost on the tax base is if the lowest bidder disagrees with the procurement process and wants to challenge the procurement process as a whole. They could do that, but we don't have control over that scenario. That would be on the lowest bidder, and in this case, Van Breed Drainage. Given the size of the project, it's relatively small. I don't believe that scenario would play out, but it is a possibility, and I do have to flag it for council.
Councillor Nordhoff?
Yeah, through the mayor to, in the tender, was it specified any timelines or just the ones submitting the numbers? Did they come up with these timelines or where they come from?
Good question. Coulter, do you look after that, or is that Andrew's more? That's Andrew's lane. Okay. Okay, jump on in here, Andrew, please.
Yeah, I can answer that. Yes. There is a portion of the tender that asks the timeline that the contractor expects to get to the project if they should be awarded it. However, it is not a condition of getting the job or not getting the job. It is just an informational portion. It is not meant to get the job or bar them from the job. So it is submitted through the tender process.
Okay, are there any other questions, comments? So what would you like to do, council? Councillor Kingma?
I'd like to show some solidarity with our landowners. I think we can endorse the second lowest bid.
Take it that's so. Then we have a motion on the floor that council approve the tender received by Robert Robertson Construction in the amount of $75,000. I've got it right in front of me, $696 for work to be completed between June 15th and August the 1st for the reconstruction of the Fuller Harris Drain. So you're prepared to move that, Councillor Kingma, a seconder, Councillor McKinnon, and all those in favor? That looks like it's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think you're good, Andrew, if you want to. Looks like you already did. Okay, there we go. All right, so the next item up on staff reports is 8B, the fire department archives card. Oh dear. Activities, fourth quarter 2023. So our fire chief, Dan Parker, I'll turn it over to you.
It's our fourth quarter 2023 report. This report is to provide activities of the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department for the fourth quarter of 2023, including calls by type, firefighter training, fire prevention activities, and public education. In late September, October, September 30th, we did a live fire training, was conducted at the old farmhouse of Lisa DeGroot. It was a great opportunity for the firefighters to practice their skills in a controlled environment. Some of the techniques trained on included firefighter accountability, hose line advancement, SCBA, air management, tanker shuttle, as well as incident command. Training continues under the instruction of our training officers, Chad Dominga and Kyle Dingwall. Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department was fortunate enough to borrow a forcible entry prop from Southwest Fire Department, Glencoe Station. Using that and old doors donated from Dashwood Doors Industries, firefighters were able to practice different techniques of forcing doors open to simulate entry into buildings. And Fire Prevention Week, October 8th to the 14th, the fire department repeated their fire prevention public awareness campaign in collaboration with Moffat and Powell Rona in Strathroy Center Road. In this second annual event, the fire department manned a fire prevention display and chatted with customers. Children were engaged by Sparky the Fire Dog mascot, as well as a few stickers, coloring books, red helmets, and Halloween candy. Unfortunately, the event was cut short this year as firefighters had to respond to a carbon monoxide alarm for readings in a home, high readings in a home. Members of the fire department presented an emergency preparedness class to grades 7 and 8 at both elementary schools, Pillar Academy and Adelaide O.G. McDonald's Public School. Students reviewed fire prevention and fire escape planning as part of this class. In November, the fire department had the honor of hosting the annual Remembrance Day service at the fire hall on November the 5th, 2023. The service was very well attended once again this year. The service included many community members, organizations, and service clubs. The fire department appreciates everyone involved in making it a special day of remembrance. On November the 6th, the family of the late George Early attended the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department meeting training night. The family was presented with thanks and shown our thermal imaging camera that was bought from donations to the fire department in memory of George. Over $6,000 has previously been donated. December ladder training was conducted as part of our annual review. All of our new junior firefighters were able to participate in this with senior staff, captains, and our deputy fire chief, Adrian Tominga, have been registered for instructor class in FPA 1041. This is the final class towards certification in completing Officer 1. Start date for that was December 28th online and will continue into February with the in-class portions. Our fire services review continues. All standard operating guidelines and policies are currently under review. This has been a large task. Officers have been reviewing and updating old SOGs. Staff then cross-reference with our local fire departments so we are consistent with our neighboring departments and adhering to regulations. As part of the FSR, the respiratory program has been undertaken as well. All firefighters have fit tested for N95 and SU8 masks. Record management was also identified in the FSR. All fire incident reports and fire inspection reports have been scanned and entered into the township records management software, Laserfish. And fire prevention officer, Kyle Kirsovich, has been busy in the township and has been active with inspections. Luckily, he has had no fire investigations. He has been to both public schools and new hotel to check fire safety plans. And as we all know, prevention is the key. A copy of the fire incident reports is attached for the fourth quarter. And as far as financial impact, all expenses for call outs, training, public education are covered in the department's operational budget. Some expenses for motor vehicle collisions are recouped by invoice, MTO, or insurance companies. It's my recommendation that council receives the 2023 final activity report prepared by myself.
Okay, are there any questions for Dan on that report? I just have one comment for anybody that's in the gallery or watching on YouTube. If there was any doubt as to the ability of our fire department, I want to just let you know that we have one of our firemen is starting with the city of Toronto in a couple of weeks as a full-time firefighter. He still chooses to live in our community and be a volunteer firefighter. Last year, we had one or two join the City of London. So we are very, very lucky. And that just speaks to Dan's credibility and the training that's gone on through the years with that department. And they are second to none. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So could I have a motion to receive the Fire Department 2023 final activity report as prepared by the Fire Chief? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item up on our agenda is 8C, an application for a tile loan from Selden Rest Farms Limited. And I'll turn that over to our treasurer, Johnny Pereira.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through to council. Staff has received an application from David Bolden of Selden Rest Family Farms Limited for a tile drain loan, which is attached to the report. The requested amount is $50,000, and again, that is due to the overall threshold being met. So with this specific application, the installation has already been completed. So this does deviate from the typical program. However, as with the prior report that came forward to council a couple months ago, MAFRA has confirmed that there is no issues for council to consider this application this evening. So if approved, the drainage inspector will evaluate the tiling and complete the necessary inspection report. And then we'll forward that off to OMAFRA and bring corresponding schedules back to council for the rating bylaw to be approved. From a financial perspective, there is minimal cost to the township, as there is the administration fee of $200 applied for the staff time and the inspection costs as well. The recommendation is to approve the report as presented, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions for Johnny? These tend to be straightforward, but okay, then we have a recommendation of the application submitted by Selden Rest Family Farms Limited for the tile drain loan on concession 1, east part of lot 1, and municipally known as 1240 Catesville Drive be approved in accordance with the OMAFRA policies for tile drainage for the current year, subject to approval and funding from OMAFRA. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next up is item 8D, the motor grader tender results, and I'll turn this over to our Public Works Manager, Coulter Cahill.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clark. Tonight my report's on, as you mentioned, the grader tender results. In 2023, council approved the purchase of a new motor grader to replace our current 2002 John Deere grader. This replacement falls in line with our asset management plan for fleet replacement. RFT PW 12-2023 was issued on November 28th and it closed on December 12th, 2023. We received 3 bids. The successful bidder for one new 2024 motor grader was Equipment Sales and Services Limited, offering a Komatsu GD 655-7. This was based on the lowest price per unit. There is an attachment there with the results from all 3 bids. The township should expect final delivery for the Komatsu grader on or before April 30th, 2024. So a pretty quick turnaround there, which is quite nice. After receiving the new grader, staff will declare the 2002 John Deere grader unit surplus to stay at 2 motor graders in our fleet. That will be, it will be the recommendation to sell this surplus unit through auction on a platform like Gov Deals when the time comes, as identified in the 2024 budget. Based on the bids received, the total cost with the 5-year extended warranty included is $473,000 plus HST. From a budget perspective, we are under the 2024 budgeted amount of $520,000 by $47,000. This is all before HST. My recommendation is below for the Komatsu grader, and I will open up for any questions if there is any at this time.
Okay, are there any questions for Coulter? Council McKinnon?
Through you, Mayor Clark, to Coulter. Coulter, what make is this? Like, you give me the name, but is it like Dutch or German or? Never heard of it before, so I'm just wondering.
Komatsu does make quite a bit of machinery, a lot of dozers, excavators and whatnot. They have been getting into a lot of graders and whatnot. To tell you exactly where they're made, I'm not sure. I do know that they do make these in the US, where they come from. I'm not aware, but I know we have done our due diligence and we did drive down to Essex Township. They just purchased a brand new one. So myself and my foreman, we drove down there. We actually got in this unit. We graded roads with it. We made sure it was a good unit because we are used to John Deere graders around here. So, but they're really trying to get into the market, I guess, and talked to a few contractors in London. They run these as well on some paving crews, and I know 2 guys I talked to, they said they'd never change. So they're a good unit. Their warranty's great. The parts are a quick turnaround. So we've done our homework on this one, so we're pretty happy with it, actually.
Thank you. My first experience was with a WAPCO.
All right, any other questions for Coulter? Councillor Kingma?
Thank you, through the mayor. Is there any expectation that because we're not dealing with John Deere now, that someone on the staff at equipment sales would go through the motions with our staff and explain some of the features of it while it's being dropped off?
Thank you, Councillor Kingma. That is actually part of the tender that we do require them to give us a demo training, if you will, with all of our operators when we receive the unit. So they've been really forthcoming with all that. They seem to be really good to work with. So
Good. Anything else for Coulter? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that council approve the tender received from Equipment Sales and Services Limited for the supply of one new 2024 Komatsu GD 655-7 motor grader in the amount of $473,000 plus HST. Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So we are now going to go into closed session. So I have to ask everyone in the gallery to leave. Sorry, Sue. We'll just take a quick recess here for a sec. Order, please. Order. Sorry, order. We have a recommendation that council adjourn to closed session at 8:18 p.m. pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss the following matters: litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, referencing servicing agreement between Adelaide Metcalfe and Strathroy Caradoc. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Thank you. It's approved. Okay, we